5 facts about the human body you didn't know. Your nose can recognize over 50,000 different smells. And whenever you smell something, you never forget it. Next, did you know it's impossible to tickle yourself? Go ahead, try it. Moving on, your brain uses around 20% of the oxygen you breathe. Meaning, if you don't get enough oxygen to your brain, there's a high chance you could get brain damage. And did you know the human heart actually beats over 100,000 times a day? I just find it so crazy. But what I find crazier is that you're taller in the morning than you are at night. So if you need to measure yourself no matter where, do it in the morning.
This might be the most brutal way somebody has ever died, and whatever you do, don't look up the picture. Octavio da Silva was a 20-year-old soccer referee in Brazil, and on June 30th, 2013, he was refereeing a soccer game when he sent off a player named Josmir Santos Abreu, who was 31 years old. He refused to leave the field and began a fight with the referee. Abreu threw a punch which made Octavio draw a knife from his pocket and repeatedly stab Abreu. Abreu died on the way to the hospital, and when fans watching the game, including Abreu's family and friends, found out about his death, they invaded the field and stoned Octavio before decapitating him, and then ripping his limbs from his body with just their strength and no weapons, and then put his head on a stick in the middle of the field. And what makes this worse is that a graphic video surfaced online shortly after the incident, showing medical personnel reassembling Octavio's body. The video and pictures are extremely disturbing, and I don't recommend looking them up. The way his limbs looked after being ripped off is extremely unsettling to look at, because you see strings of flesh, tissue, and bone because it wasn't cut off properly and it was just ripped off. This case is absolutely awful, but why did Octavio pull out a knife when somebody just punched him? If he didn't stab Josmir Abreu to death, he would still be alive today. But just imagine being literally ripped limb from limb by an angry group of soccer fans, and there's nothing you can do as they pull your body apart.
Doctors couldn't explain why this kid was sick until they see what the school was serving. This is Chen, and he was a second grader who moved from Beijing to Seattle back in 2019. He started school just like any other kid, but he was immediately outcasted. Since he couldn't speak English perfectly, all of the students and teachers were treating him horribly. But things only got worse from there because Chen started to feel extremely sick. Every day he would come home with rashes and a burning fever. But then he'd wake up fine the next day, go back to school, and the cycle would start again. This kept happening for 3 weeks until Chen's mom finally decided to take him to the doctor. They found out it was actually food poisoning causing Chen's sickness every single day. So they sent a health inspector to check out the school's kitchen. Now, at first, everything appeared to be normal. But when she took one look into the soup bowl, she immediately called the police. They found thousands of spider eggs. Kids had been mixing it into the soup each day.
Let's talk about this picture. This is why if I ever have kids, I'll never let them use the bathroom alone. A 7-year-old girl and her mom were headed to Target, and she was getting some clothes for school. Her mom also wanted to grab some snacks for movie night. So while her mom went to go grab popcorn and other snacks, she told her daughter to go pick out clothes for school. When her daughter finally finished and picked out the clothes, she went up to her mom and said something strange happened. A sad pale lady had came up to her, telling her that she wished she could have her own daughter that looked just like her. The mom, who thought the daughter was just joking around, laughed it off and said, "Let's go." While heading to the register, the daughter shook her mom and said, "That's the lady who told me she wanted a daughter just like me," pointing at a mannequin. The mom laughed, thinking the daughter was still being silly. You know how kids have wild imaginations, always playing around. While at the register, the daughter had to go to the bathroom, so the mom told her to hurry up. It was only a couple hours down, by the way. While in the bathroom, the daughter texted the mom saying the pale lady's in here who wanted a daughter. The mom, trying to get in a rush back home to her other kids, said, "Hurry up, we have to go. Stop playing around." 10 minutes later, and the daughter never came out. The mother, who was waiting outside the bathroom at this time, rushes in the bathroom to see what the heck is going on. The daughter was nowhere to be found. She even checked the stalls to see if her daughter was hiding, standing on a toilet or something. On one of the stalls, she found her daughter's cell phone on the floor. By the way, if you made it this far in the video, comment down below your favorite fruit. Mine is mangoes. When she checked her phone, this was the last image found in it. Police still to this day have no explanation on what happened to that little girl.
Every single holiday that we celebrate is celebrating one of the 7 deadly sins. Valentine's Day represents lust. Thanksgiving, that celebrates the sin of
Gluttony, yeah, because you're
because you're eating a lot. You're overeating. Christmas, what do you think that is?
Christmas. Greed?
Greed,
Yeah.
overconsumption, and excess. Celebrating gifts. We're not really even celebrating like the birth of Christ because people are so focused on the gifts and shit. The holiday of Easter, what sin would it be?
Easter.
Say it's envy because the Romans were jealous of Jesus, so they murdered him.
Oh.
It's crazy. St. Patrick's Day, it's sloth because
Why?
people get blacked out drunk.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah. Now Halloween is what? It's wrath.
Okay.
So scaring and hurting people for fun. With masks, it's wrath.
Oh.
The sin of pride.
Okay, what's that? Oh,
Nah, we're not even gonna say that.
crazy mutations. This is Johnny Eck. He had a condition called caudal regression syndrome, which basically meant he had no lower body. He worked as a sideshow performer in circuses back in 1930, and he actually played Goonie Bird in the original Tarzan movie.
3 dark psychology facts. There's an extremely high probability that a stranger has looked at you and thought about killing you without you even knowing it. The person you first look at when you enter a room is the person you feel most threatened by. When you spend 10 minutes in front of the mirror in a dimly lit room staring at yourself, your mind gets bored and starts scaring you by making you see a monster with your face combination.
And they were both found dead. She must have been out of her head.
Oh my god, this is literally the dumbest man on earth. Hi, my name is Ethan and here's everything you need to know in under 1 minute. On June 26th, 2023, Patrick Profright and his wife were having an argument. Now they had just had a baby that was only 3 weeks old, so the argument was early in the morning, which is understandable because they are suffering from lack of sleep and just a whole new adjustment. While Patrick's wife was holding the baby, Patrick entered the room holding a crossbow. The mood immediately shifted and trigger warning, it's about to get dark. He allegedly raised the bow and shot at his wife. When he did, it accidentally hit his 3-week-old baby and his wife. He then pulled the arrow out of his wife and begged her not to call 911, but when she did regardless, he fled the scene. Thankfully, he was found and arrested and charged with second-degree murder and attempted, and his wife was okay. Unfortunately, the baby did pass away. The world's worst job, otherwise known as Shein or Shein, however you pronounce it. Hi, my name is Ethan and let's get right into this. Recently, I've heard a lot of rumors about how bad the Shein workers are treated each day, and honestly, nothing could have prepared me for what I learned.
This all started in June of 2022 when a viral TikTok displayed articles of Shein clothing with handwritten messages stating, "Need your help." According to Brightly.eco, they state that the average Shein worker works 7 days a week in 18-hour shifts. They even found that some of the workers were seen washing their own hair while they were at work just to keep up with their personal hygiene. Not only do they work a lot, but they also make a base salary of $556 a month to make 500 articles of clothing each day. Let me know what you guys think.
Here are some things that you didn't know the real purpose of. Have you ever wondered why the bristles on your toothbrush are colored? This is to indicate that you should get a new toothbrush when the color fades. And have you ever wondered what the 57 is on the Heinz ketchup bottle? Henry Heinz thought that the number 57 was a cool number. So to make sure everybody knew which ketchup was his, he put 57 on all the bottles. And have you ever wondered what the small holes are in airplane windows? These are to help keep the windows from frosting up. And it regulates the air pressure inside the airplane. Have you ever wondered what those little bumps are on the highways? These are rumble strips put there to wake up sleepy drivers.
Scary facts that will blow your mind. If you remember your dream when you wake up, then it wasn't a dream, it was a message.
The craziest real event caught on camera. In 1982, during the filming of the Twilight Zone, the movie, a stunt helicopter was hovering 25 feet above Vic Morrow and two child actors when pyrotechnic explosions damaged the helicopter, causing it to crash, killing all three instantly.
This Mackenzie Sharilla situation is wild. She's this 19-year-old Ohio teen who last summer was driving in a Toyota Corolla with her boyfriend Dominic Russo and his friend Davian Flanagan. And then when the car turned onto the road, it suddenly accelerated, jerking left and right until it barreled head-on into a brick wall at 100 miles per hour. And when first responders arrived, the two men were pronounced dead. At the scene, Mackenzie was found unconscious and trapped inside the mangled car. But instead of getting hit with manslaughter charges, she got slapped with multiple counts of murder. That's because prosecutors allege that this was no accident, saying that she actually crashed the car on purpose because she was trying to kill her boyfriend with whom she had a tumultuous relationship and that his friend was just collateral damage. With them pointing to evidence like a computer analysis showing that she floored it without ever making an effort to slow down, going so fast her fuzzy Prada slipper was found stuck to the gas pedal. Plus, a few days before the crash, Mackenzie took the same obscure route, apparently plotting her crime. And so all that leading to this week where she was found guilty on all counts, and the judge saying she had a mission and she executed it with precision. And you can see her sobbing uncontrollably as the judge reads her verdict.
Her actions were controlled, methodical, deliberate, intentional, and purposeful.
What the fuck? Is this thing on?
Did you know in the movie Scream, actor Skeet Ulrich almost got seriously injured while on set? And it happened in this scene right here when Sidney, dressed as Ghostface, stabs him with the umbrella in the chest. Ulrich had pads underneath his shirt, so when the umbrella stabbed him, it wouldn't hurt, but the second time he got stabbed, the stuntman missed the pad and actually hit his chest. His chest actually has metal wiring inside because he had open heart surgery as a child. Whenever the wiring gets hit hard or has intense pressure, it hurts a lot, and so his scream when he gets hit the second time was 100% real. The stuntman had hit that wiring and he fell to the ground and screamed. He was okay though, but they kept it in the movie because it was so authentic.
This is the Pitbull video, one of the hardest cartel execution videos to watch explained. The video that I'm about to explain is extremely graphic and I don't recommend searching for it. The video begins with the man lying on his back on the ground, and two men are holding his legs open. He's being restrained. And in total, there is 5 perpetrators and 1 victim. And also 2 pit bull dogs. Apparently, this is the victim's punishment for allegedly doing something with a kid or to a kid. The victim is naked, and at the start of the video, the dog has done most of the work. The dog already ripped off the man's privates, and it's just a bloody mess. The dog continues to rip pieces of flesh off of where his privates used to be, and the victim is being held down, and he is also gagged so he can't scream. But sometimes the gag came loose, and at this point you could hear the man scream in pain. The victim was even talking, but I couldn't translate it, but that means he was completely conscious during this, which I can't even imagine the pain. As a man, this might be one of the worst videos out there. Funky Town is bad, Ghost Rider is bad, but as a man, I can't imagine anything more painful than a Pitbull ripping off your junk while you're still alive. Not many people mention this video with the other disturbing ones, but it's definitely up there. There's not any information about the victim after the video. I don't know if he died, but it's safe to assume he did. He lost a lot of blood, and if a dog eats your privates, you will most likely get an infection and die from it. All in all, this video is very graphic, very real, and very disturbing. Please do yourself a favor and never go searching for this video, especially if you're a man.
Mississippi woman who killed boyfriend and locked his body in freezer denied appeal to overturn conviction. That is a crazy mugshot right off the bat. Why are you smiling so hard after killing somebody? This is Samantha Simmons, and she killed Thomas Burns. After Thomas's wife died of bone cancer, he eventually moved on and met Samantha Simmons. However, he definitely was not over it. He would carry her urn everywhere he went. Eventually, Samantha Simmons and Thomas Burns moved in together in 2018, and neighbors stopped hearing from him all of a sudden. One of the neighbors that frequently had coffee with Thomas came over to ask where he was. Samantha Simmons said he moved to Texas, and the neighbor did not believe her at all because all of his cars were still there. They tried to file a missing persons report, but they couldn't because technically they weren't related. This is where things get crazy, and the neighbors turn into the Avengers here. They noticed a moving company came, and then the next day they noticed the house was empty with music playing on the stereo. They decided to go inside and check out what's going on in that house. They found a freezer with a sheet on it, so they broke that open. They had to use a crowbar to pick the lock and everything. That's where they found Thomas Burns' body in there. He was curled into a ball, placed in the freezer next to a bunch of frozen food too. He also had a bag over his head with zip ties all over him too. The autopsy report estimated that he was still alive at the time that he was put into the freezer, and that he died by asphyxiation because of the bag over his head. And of course, after looking at the zip ties, they found Samantha Simmons' DNA all over it. She tried to say there wasn't enough evidence in court, as if she didn't have DNA all over his frozen body and the zip ties. Wild story. Let me know what you guys think about the story in the comment section below, and check out my YT. Link in bio.
Now, a lot of people have been tagging me in this video, so I'm here to explain the backstory to this whole thing. This is the case of Lauren McCluskey. Now, the girl you see in this video was a 21-year-old college student in Utah. On October 22nd, 2018 at 9:55 p.m., she was found dead in her dormitory. She was shot 7 times. That afternoon, her ex-boyfriend waited for her outside her dormitory for several hours. She was on the phone with her mother at 8:23 p.m. when Melvin Rowland, her ex-boyfriend, confronted her. He violently dragged her across the parking lot in front of her dormitory, dropping all of her belongings. At 8:23 p.m., Lauren's father alerted campus authorities that his daughter was in danger. But around that time, it was already too late. Rowland committed slip and slide hours before killing McCluskey. The man who loaned Rowland the gun was sentenced to 3 years in prison. However, this didn't rest there. 2 years after Lauren's death, details started surfacing that campus ignored McCluskey in her claims of her ex-boyfriend stalking her and her life being in danger. It said that Lauren alerted campus authorities about her stalker ex-boyfriend, but they completely ignored her. The family ended up suing the university, and in exchange, the university paid them $14 million, but the damage was already done. That still didn't help the fact that the university ignored one of their brightest students who had scholarships to choose from. Like and follow for more.
The story behind this mugshot will disturb you. This is Randy Petersilge, and in 2018 he was arrested for murder. Randy was a career criminal who throughout his life had been in and out of the prison system a number of times. But in 2018, when he was arrested for murder, prison would become his permanent home. But who did Randy kill? Well, we have to go 17 years in the past and go back to the night when 41-year-old Simon Clark, a local father, was murdered. On November 28, 2001, police were called to a home that was under construction where they found the dead body of 41-year-old Simon Clark. At the time, he was found beaten to death with injuries to his chest and head. And shortly after they discovered Simon's body, authorities discovered a baseball bat that they believed was used in the murder. Now, what's crazy looking back at it is that way back in 2001, the authorities believed that Randy Petersilge could have been their guy. He was their lead suspect, but they didn't have enough evidence to arrest him, and so they had to cut him loose. Eventually, though, over 17 years later, the authorities showed up to Randy's front door and took him into custody. As it turns out, after all those years, a few witnesses had come forward and decided that they wanted to spill the tea on exactly what had happened that night. According to the witnesses, Simon Clark had been murdered over a money dispute. So Simon, on the night of the murder, had gone over to this house that was under construction because his friend had found out that he was paying this contractor that he hired $300,000 for $120,000 worth of work. So Simon, hearing this, told his friend that he'd go over and talk to the contractors, and keep in mind Simon was married with 2 children at the time. But when he showed up, he met Randy, and Randy flew into a rage and beat him to death. And as it turns out, the contractor that was hired to do that work on the home had been defrauding Simon's friend the entire time in order to buy narcotics. Thankfully, though, Randy was finally arrested and put into prison for this murder, where he's now serving a life sentence. And this mugshot has to go down in history as one of the creepiest I've ever seen.